Hello, you beautiful people. Another episode of Computer Science for Everyone. In last episode, we started to get familiar with computer program, fundamental topics. And today we're going to jump and dive into real and actual codings, which I use Python programming language because it's simple, it's easy, and let it to focus on computational thinking. So let us start and talk about programming basics. Well, look at this new environment. From now on, I may share my screen a lot because I'm going to teach you guys a little bit of coding. So I need an environment, and I use Python Interactive Shell. Interactive Shell, it's an interactive environment that you write your commands, press enters, you get back the result. And Python interpret your commands and give you a proper result. So that's what we call interactive uh, shell. And it's very important, it's simple, and a good way to start learning coding. Well, the very first things that I want to focus on that is arithmetics. Arithmetic is important in any programming language. That's why most of the time we start from this, because no matter you're building a game, you're writing in mobile apps, or you're creating a financial application, you have to understand how to do the calculations. They are everywhere in computers. That's why we're using computer. So let us start from some basic operator in arithmetics, like plus operator. So 3 plus 3 is 6. Simple, right? You're just going to write it down and then press enter. Python interpreter read that expression 3 plus 3 and gives you back the result. So maybe 3 minus 2 or negative numbers 2 minus 3 minus 1. Look at this space that I put here. It's okay. You can do this or you can just write this one. Both going to work. There's no need different. But I have this habit to make the code a little bit more readable. So it's good that you put that in space. It's practice, coding practice. So some idioms actually. Okay, now let's go for another kind of operators. I'm going to write a divided by 4 or 2. I'm going to get 4.0. You see, it gives me the fractional number. Or 7 divided by 2. I'm going to get 3.5. So you see that it's help you to understand that what is the value. Even the fractional part is really interesting to have it. So now let me do something else. You know what if you don't want the fractional part? If you don't want the fractional part, what you can do is you just write this nice trick. So slash slash double slash, you're gonna get 3 or 8 divided by 2, so 4. It's just a kind of extra things good to know it. So multiplication, 2 times 3, 6, right? Or what if I multiply a fractional numbers like 8.2? So I'm going to get a fraction. I can do that. There's no any problem with that. And so these are basic arithmetic operators like plus, minus, subtraction, and division. Also, I'm going to give you a little bit of more. If you write double star, you're actually trying to calculate the power. So 2, the power of 3 is 8, huh? 2 times 2 times 2. So that's how you're going to do that. It's nice to do such kind of things. Also, there's another handy operator when you want to calculate the remainder. For example, you want to divide 7 over 2 and see what is the remainder. You use that percent operator or modulo operator. So the remainder is 1. And definitely when you choose an even number like 8, the remainder is 0. So this is a very simple introduction to arithmetic operators. So I suggest you guys to pause video, go to the show, try to play around with all these kind of things to get really familiar with that. Well, we can build a little bit more complicated expression, not just 2, 3 times by 5 and whatever. You can use parentheses actually. For example, you can write 5 minus 3 multiply, or maybe even just a little bit of more stuff, and then plus 8 divide by 2. I'm just putting random operators. I'm going to get something like a 32.5. And you know what? If you make a kind of mistake, like forget about really putting close parentheses, you're going to get a kind of error, syntax error, bad input in line 2. So this is the way the shell tells you that something is wrong, and you have to go and see what is going on, what's happening. So it's just good to know that, okay? So this is about arithmetic. Pause the video, go through it, because after this, I'm going to talk about something very important, which is variable. So give a little bit of pause, and then we go for variable, everybody. Well, we're going to talk about variables, and they are very important, very, very important, fundamental, and critical in computer. You know what? If you just gonna let's say you are calculating the area of any square, okay, and your square area, the side length is 10. So if you want to calculate the area, you're going to write 10 multiply 10, huh? That's how or 10 power of 2, right? Both going to be the same. So what if you want to calculate another kind of a score, which side is 20? So you're going to do the same things. What if another score, 30? What if you want to back to the first score that you had and you want to calculate another aspect of the score, like perimeter? So then what was that side? It was 10. What if you have a lots of scores and then you may lose all the kind of numbers? It's difficult to remember all these numbers. Even, for example, if you work with a Google spreadsheet, you know that you can put your data into different cells and choose a name for them, and later you refer to those data by name. This referring to value by naming or labeling a variable, a value, is sort of understanding of variable. Variables are like box that store a value like 10, and you can choose an English name, a meaningful name. And then later entire of your code, whenever you need them, you can refer back to them just by the name. So you don't need to remember what was the value. For example, let's say I can choose a value side length. Look at how I'm choosing the name side length. I made L to be uppercase by purpose. I'll talk about it. So when I write side length equal by 10, and I use the assignment operator, it means 10 right side should be assigned in the left side, which is side length. And if I write side length, I just write, I want to know what is inside the side length. I can use a function, we call it print, and I write the side length. So what print does, print says, hey, Python, go to this variable side length, see what's its value, and print it for me. You see what's happening? I'm getting a number 10 here. So that's really interesting. That means really 10 is stored in side length. And I can now use the side length to do some calculations. Side length power of 2, I'm going to get 100. So it's still everything is the same. That means technically Python replaces with 10. And then 10 power of 2, you're going to get 100. You can do anything you wanted. But it's better because your code is more meaningful. Now that 10 is just not a 10 because it can be anything. Weight, distance, time, hours, or 10 ice creams. But now it's side length, right? Now we know it's length of our score. This is called variables. So you can think of variable, a box that store things. And honestly, when it comes to the computer memory management, a part of the memory will get a name like side length and it store the number 10 for you. When it comes to variables, there's something very important you have to understand. One is naming, how to choose a name for variable. The other one is the type of variable, which talk about the data type. Is integers, is fractional, strings, boolean. We're going to talk about it in the next video. And the other way, finally, is the value that you're assigning. For example, in this case, name is side length, value is 10, and the type is integer because 10 is an integer numbers. Okay, we will go more and talk about this type and data types and other stuff. But now I want to focus on naming a variable. So let's go and talk about naming variables. Naming variable is very important because when you start to work in software companies, it's a headache if you're working with your team members, choose bad names. Nobody gonna likes you, gonna hate you. So that's why when you join to a software company or you want to work with some other people, at the beginning you have to sit down and then sort out how you want to choose name for your variables. There are some common ways to do that. For example, look at what I did. I route side length equal by 10. So this is called camel case. Camel case. It's like a camel because by default, everything should be lowercase. That's the standard of a camel case. But if you're creating a variable that has 2 words or 3 words, the first letter of the second words on word, you make them uppercase, like side length. For example, if you have a square side length, something like that. You look at the S and L here. So no matter how many words, but we just make uppercase the beginning letter of those words. So this is called camel case because it's like a camel. So that's one standard. The other standard is we use underscore and we write it like this. And this is more a bit typical and standard in Python because in Python community, people, they use this approach a little bit more. We call it Pythonic style, Pythonic way. So Pythonic idioms. So it's very important that you understand when you join to a company, consistency matters a lot. But there are some certain things that you can't and you shouldn't use them. First of all, you can't have such a kind of variable. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. The syntax error, nobody like it. You can write, and also you can't start with the letters, like numbers, like 4 side equal by 10. This is not going to work. You can't use such a kind of things. There are some certain variables like this. You can use this one, and not going to work. Can't assign operator. So to be safe, you can use alphabetics, no matter lowercase alphabetics, like uppercase, lowercase, and also underline which is, I think, good enough to do that. And you are safe enough to make sure that your variable works perfectly. So, and this is about things that you can't use. And finally, there is something about the name you choose. Name you choose should be meaningful. It shouldn't be confusing. For example, if you want to use side length, do not do this. Because who knows? Is only yourself know this one. SL10. Nobody knows what is that SL. Is it side length? Is what is that SL, huh? So it's not a good way to do that. The name should be semantic, should be clear enough, and people understanding and then liking. So everybody, let me just go through the whole things we discussed just right now. We started to talk about arithmetics. I make you familiar with the plus, minus, division, and subtraction, multiplication, power, and modulo operators to calculate the remainder. Then we talk about the variable, labeling your data rather than just hard code them in the code and then remember what was the value is much, much better. Then we talk about how to choose a name for variable, and I talk about the camel case or underscore style. Also, I told you what are those characters you can use to choose the names, and you're going to get a kind of error. And finally, I talk about semantical name, choosing better names. In next video, we're going to use our knowledge to build a little code to calculate a square area for ourselves. And also you get familiar how to get value from users rather than just hard code yourself. And also we talk about data type. So have fun with this step. Try to pause, use the shell and learn. We're going to back and we're going to continue with the next part, which is about data types and more advanced topics relevant to variables. Have a good fun and with codings. Remember, coding should be fun. I hope you enjoy it.